we are joined by Stephanie from Wine and Chill. She is a recovering lawyer who is going to be helping us explore these other topics going on in the celebrity world right now. So shifting off from Real Housewives of Potomac to Real Housewives of Atlanta, let's talk about Simon and Porsha. Porsha recently filed for divorce from Simon Guobadia after only 15 months of marriage. Once it came out that Simon is not who he claims to be and that his position in the United States is a little bit on the illegitimate side as well. He's under like a false name, a false visa, and everything like that. So I kind of want to know, were you guys surprised that Porsha ultimately went ahead and decided to file for divorce? Did you guys think that they were going to fight it out or anything like that and stick together?
Really? I predicted that this was going to happen. I just didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. I thought it was going to wait for it to be on the show. But maybe she found out something. Well, I mean, a lot more is coming out about Simon, but I wasn't surprised at all.
No. What about you, Layla?
I wasn't surprised, but I want to go back to this false name thing because I feel like I know it's considered a scam and things like that, but I feel like because I know people like from different countries who have like more than one name, you know what I mean? So it's just an alternate, like what did the lady say? I'm giving you alternate facts. I just think it's an alternate identity. Alternative facts. That's what it is. It's alternative facts. I do feel like his name, like people when he was younger probably did call him Simon. I don't think it's completely made up.
Okay.
But I do think it's, it's a second identity.
Okay, Layla with the lawyering. You need to help represent this man.
that imaginary pen name, as we in Jamaicans would say, your pen name.
The pet name, yes. Maybe Simon is his pet name.
I mean,
I feel like it's his Christian name, to be honest with you.
Say again?
I feel like it's his Christian name. Like, you know what I mean? He has his name, but then he has his Christian name.
I would say the only thing is INS. The immigration services would say they don't care about if it's his nickname, his pet name. It's not the same as the name he entered into the country in the first time. I would say that's why he's in that problem.
Yeah. Exactly. And I want to get into that a little bit with you, Stephanie, but really quickly, I want to thank Foxy for the super chat. Foxy, you are always so supportive of the channel. Thank you so much. It's so nice of you. So Porsha, when she filed a divorce from Simon, she made sure to include his Christian name or his pet name and his real name. She included both. So does that mean something to you, Stephanie, in the legal world? Does that mean that she really doesn't know which Simon she married?
I think, I think that's a good point. I think it would allude to the fact that she's like, it doesn't matter which one and under what paperwork. I am trying to separate my assets from whichever version you want to present yourself as now. Because I think it's become very clear that she might have more to lose than him. He seems to like to live his life on the edge. Because I personally wouldn't play with the federal government.
Yes. I'm like, is it narcissism to where you have a permanent residency, but then you still want to sue INS for not letting you be a naturalized citizen? What is going on there?
I've never seen anybody do that, to be honest. Because Grace and I were talking about all of the benefits you get with permanent residency. So all he is basically being excluded from is a blue passport. So, the passport is very valuable. So maybe he really wanted that to jeopardize your permanent residency. I don't see why you would. And then voting. And he doesn't seem like he cares about the state of this place. So I would fascinated to be.
I don't know, because it crossed my mind when y'all were talking about the reasons that he would want like the blue passport, and it crossed my mind because the other lawsuit he had in the past, he's been very active politically with I think it's called the People's Democratic something in Nigeria, like he was an elected officer with them, and I was like, is he trying to get into politics here? Like, does he want a blue passport for that? You know what I mean? Like, it crossed my mind. My mind.
The man is so bold. So I honestly have never seen somebody with this level of audacity. And I've covered so much scamming on my channel because I find scammers to be very fascinating people. And I'm like, wow, if only you could be this bold for the right thing. Or maybe like the middle ground thing. You could do so much. And I've never seen anybody be like, yeah, I'm going to play in everyone's face for decades.
And see, he hasn't only been playing with the government. Now we're finding out that he is not paying his bills when it comes to that private jet that he's got some sort of a timeshare payment plan on. Stephanie, can you run us through the basics of that case and what's going on and whether or not Porsha can be implicated in that?
Yes, and that reminds me, I need to finish my editing for that. So basically, and I'm sure y'all are aware as well, Simon's one of his many companies, so maybe we should start that way. Simcoe Petroleum. So he allegedly owns a refinery import-export business, which my dad is a truck driver for many years. It is a highly regulated industry to be in anything having to do with oil and gas. So I thought that was very interesting, and that's red flag number one. So allegedly that under that company, that LLC, he contracted with essentially like a private plane Uber service, where to your point, Grace, he could own a fractional share of a leased Cessna, which is one of the smaller jets. Which is interesting. Why you would want to lease a fractional share is beyond me. It was about 12.5%. He allegedly did not pay them for many years. And so they sued basically 2 breach of contract claims saying, hey, you owe us about $960,000. It then got dropped down to $800 and something thousand, but it's plus legal fees, plus interest, etc. And yeah. So I think it's very fascinating in that not only are you going on lavish trips, you have Porsha going on lavish trips thinking, she is living it up. Meanwhile, the creditors are looking and saying, actually, you know what? Let me remind you, you owe me some money.
Exactly. And so Simon, he got this lease through his company. Is that a strategic thing so that the company can bail and then he won't be liable for it personally?
I think that's what he's trying to do. However, there's a concept in corporate law called piercing the corporate veil, which essentially Simon is probably, I would guess, this is just an assumption and a guess based on the messiness of how he likes to move around. Piercing the corporate veil is if you have an LLC and you basically commingle your funds. So Simcoe Petroleum, he's actually paying his rent because that house is not owned. Yeah. He's paying his rent out of Simcoe Petroleum, their bank account. If he's going to Dubai off of Simcoe Petroleum, etc., and it's not a business trip, the creditors can then sue and say, actually, we have pierced the corporate veil because you're just using this corporate instrument, is like what you call different corporations, as just a front, and really it's just for you. Because what he's likely doing is taking out loans under all of these various LLCs. And I looked them up. He has registered under various versions of Simcoe Entertainment, Simcoe, what were some of the other ones? Like various random names. Fallon's name is on one of them spelled wrong, which I thought was very interesting.
Well, let's can we pause and get into that real quick?
For sure.
Because I saw on some documents, because I was looking for their divorce documents, and Fallon was coming up. What's it spelled? Faline?
Yes, it was. And I was like, is her? I was like, that's not how. I was like, maybe she changes it for TV purposes, and maybe that's actually the government correct spelling of her name, which I thought was really interesting. But that that business is registered for the next, I believe, 4-ish years. So they've paid the registration on that one, but some of the other registrations he didn't pay, so they've lapsed.
Yeah, I heard she had an issue with that. I don't know the background of it, but I heard Fallon does not like that whole situation.
There's something there. I think if we spent a good 15 minutes, because the minute I saw it, I was like, oh, maybe he has a daughter, and I was like, no, this is Fallon.
So Fallon was unaware that he registered that business in her name. Basically, is that what you guys
no,
are saying?
I think she might be aware.
Yeah, he used like she's a victim. I don't want to. She's a I don't know if I want to say victim or volunteer, but he used her. Allegedly, he used her. And I don't want to misspeak because I don't know the background. But Fallon was involved in some type of business allegedly, and that's one of the reasons Simon married her.
Her name is definitely on the document. So I would be curious if it is a Erica Jane, Tom Girardi situation where he just put her name on everything, and we can assume that she definitely was like, oh yeah, I know a little bit. Or if he was like, anyways, I know your social, and just put her name on it. I'd be curious.
Do you think he tried to do that with Porsha, and that's why she's like, oh hell no, I'm getting
that's what I'm wondering. Yeah,
I feel like he tried a little bit of funny business with her, because Grace brought up with me before we started this. She was like, one of the points that came out today that Portia's team filed the letter of preserving the finances, which is like really interesting in a divorce settlement, the financial documents. And I think because his money is a little funny, I think she wants to show like, hey, you tried to access my account this day and this day and this day, and like, what did you do? That would just be a guess.
Oh my God. Scary.
I was wondering, I had so many questions because I saw that, and I actually have a video that I'm editing on that, but I was just like, is that a normal part of a divorce?
So early on, I don't think that that's so normal. I know people usually do it. So like if we were getting a divorce and in the prenup it says that you're entitled to spousal support, $50,000 a month, then you'd be like, yeah, I want to make sure Stephanie's money is not funny because she owes me the rest of my life $50,000 a month. But their prenup, from what it's being reported, says that their assets are supposed to be separate. So my guess would be her legal team, their only incentive to file that type of motion would be because he maybe has access to her accounts that she doesn't want him to have access to any longer.
And it's literally not even a week since she filed.
The quickness of it, I find really interesting, because I assumed that when Grace and I talked about it, my suggestion was like, hey, girl, you need a lawyer. I didn't expect the quickness of it. So I would assume that it's much worse than maybe we know.
Honestly, you guys, I would not be surprised if he did access her accounts, because we know that with one of his ex-wives, I don't know if it's the first or the second, but she claimed that he had gotten her into a mountain of debt because he started opening businesses or getting loans or something like that in her name, or trying to use her name to help do things or whatever. I think she was aware of it at the time, but because he painted himself as a successful man, she didn't know that it would get her into financial issues when she was signing things. And then we also know that Porsha has a history. For example, when she was dating Dennis, didn't Dennis have her opening Peach Juice TV or something like that, trying to do business off of her name, some kind of streaming service? So to me, with Simon's history of that, and then Dennis's history, and then we saw that Dennis did that to Porsha, I wouldn't be surprised if Simon was able to do the same. To be honest with you guys.
I feel bad for her. We're her friends. We're her friends to tell her to do a quick LexisNexis of like, girl, you got to look into people.
I know.
My thing is, though, at this point, we didn't know a lot about Simon, but she discovered a lot even before she married this man. I know she was seeing all the blogs and all the reports and all the videos that were coming out about his money.
Because Fallon did say before they got married, like, his money is funny. And a lot of people took it as she was being bitter. And I was like, two things can be true at once. You could be upset and also correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. Pregnant and lying.
Like, I think Porsha knew he was scamming, you know what I mean? But I think she thought like the scam was working. Like, I think
maybe she thought it wouldn't affect her. Sometimes people are like, well, maybe you scam others, but you're not going to scam me.
Right.
And somebody that's willing to scam is probably willing to scam you too.
Yes. You are an instrument at this point. You are an instrument of Simon. Yeah.
And then it blows up in your face, right? Because like Nene says, you never win when you play dirty, because they were both preying on each other for different reasons. I believe that Porsha went for him for the money, or the image of money that he had, and then he went for her because he likes fame, and you know, he wanted to be known a little bit more. And so at the end of the day, like, that kind of blew up in both of their faces. Real quick, I want to give another shout out to Foxy the Swede. Thank you so much for your super chat. Foxy's asking if we think that this is real, or if it's an Erica Girardi, Tom Girardi divorce sort of thing.
I think it's real.
I think it's real just because the potential possible deportation. If that wasn't on the table, I'd be like, oh yeah, maybe it's for show. But like, once you cut the tie, also again, Simon wanting, to your point, Grace, Simon wanting fame after he has funny paperwork for decades is wild to me. If my paperwork is funny, I'm not saying anything to anybody. I'm minding my business. I'm paying my taxes. I'm smiling at my neighbor. I'm being a kind person. I'm not doing any of this.
1,000%. I was shook by it, because myself as an immigrant, I have papers and they're legitimate papers, but I don't get caught up in any kind of mess. If there's a protest somewhere, I'm running in the other direction. I don't want to accidentally get caught up in anything, you know, like, I just don't want any problems. So for him to be
protests and prayers too.
I think have them everywhere. So I'm always running in some other direction, because I can't get caught up in a damn thing, you know? So it's wild to me that he would even go for this, you guys.
That's that level of narcissism, though, that he has.
Yeah, I really
Mhm.
think so. Like he wants the money and the fame. I really think he's a narcissist,
Mhm.
especially looking at his social media now since the divorce has been announced and he's shopping for cars. Like he's doing all these weird things on his social media. I do think it's an extreme case of narcissism.
I
Yeah.
think so too. And I've got a photo of that too for you guys.
Window shopping for a car when you owe somebody else $1 million is just
Mhm.
wild behavior. So
Right.
I was like
Mhm.
very curious and very much like, I don't understand how this man is legitimately running an oil refinery import export business. So I just Googled Simon oil business, and
Mhm.
he must have, with SEO, tagged it on the Instagram. Up popped an Instagram that he posted of a video where he was in, I believe he was in the UAE with what looked like UAE businessmen in their traditional garb. And he, like, it's giving very luxurious, it's giving diplomat. And one of the men was a retired Emirati military professional. I can't remember like his ranking, etc. And people are in the comments like, wow, this is so distinguished, etc., etc. And now my question is, can you rent, people to just stand there and look like they're of importance for you to perpetrate the fool? Because
I
what
don't know
was
if I
that
watched
doing
Miss
on
Netta.
the video?
Miss Netta.
Wait, yes, Miss Netta and Charles have been renting people to hype them up in the background. Yes, you can
I
rent
think it's
people.
audio. I don't think there's
Yeah.
actual people there.
It's just audio. Okay. But I'm sure. And I've even seen Vivica Fox. Like, yes, you can rent people to, it's acting to do a scene with you.
Here's the thing,
But I feel
though.
like it's see-through. It's see-through.
The thing is, especially because he spends a lot of time in Dubai, and I got a lot of sources in Dubai. I ain't got nothing on Simon yet, but there's a lot of funny business and funny businessmen that go to Dubai. So the fact that he's always there says a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking of, do you guys think he got back into the United States after all of this news broke? He's been purposely tagging all his recent posts as in the US. I'm here, I'm back. But do you think he actually made it back now that, the jig is up?
Somebody should post, like, you remember back when catfish first came out and people were like, to ensure they weren't getting catfish, they were like, hey, send me a picture with a spoon on your nose and something wild. Somebody should ask him, like, send me a picture with a real diamond on your forehead. And then we'll know.
Today's date. I think so too, because I'm on the fence about whether or not he actually is in the United States right now, to be quite honest with you guys.